I know I have plenty of story ideas that I have in my head that I want to get out or, tell so I either don't forget or, you know, just so I can at least get the good basic idea down and out. And then that way I can always use this as reference later. Alright, so story idea number one. It actually ends at the beginning. Uh, so the idea is that there's five truckers or so, four or five, just like a group of them. Uh, yeah, they work for this small town, small time kind of trucking business that does a little bit of long distance stuff. Like I'm guessing, well, I'm going to create the fact that yeah, largely based in Manitoba, Canada. Maybe to Saskatchewan, they might travel there, or they might go to like northwestern Ontario, maybe, but mostly sticking in Manitoba. And it basically these drivers they come back uh for their final gig essentially, but they don't know it. And yeah, they get back and their boss and the receptionist is there to call the guys in to the main office meeting room kind of area, and basically he just tells them straight up, "This is the last one, last job I got for you. Business is going under. Well, either the business is going under, he's retiring, selling it off, something or other, having to or wanting to move on something different, knowing the company's not going to make it through. Um, like he knows the company's going to end. None of the four or five truckers want to pick up and go. Like that would be voiced. They don't want to like continue that company. They want to either move on with other things as well, or um, like they'll find something else, uh, like outside of that one. And basically, their boss just tells them like it's done. And he pulls out a file. Like these are five final destinations, one for each, or four or five. The last ones that these guys will take, last jobs. And he's basically telling them, you know what, this is it. Goodbye. Have fun with these. He's Then he would explain further. Okay, like the trucks, like they're yours for what you want to do. Take them, bring them back, leave them here, sell them off, whatever. Each truck that the person would regularly use would be underneath their name upon the deliquidization, I guess, of the company. And yeah, that would have been put in that morning. Or that would have been, and like it won't take effect until like the final delivery is called in. And yeah, each one, or like each person goes to a different direction. Like it's set up like that. So one of the truckers well, a couple of them will go north, or at least to North Manitoba. Uh, One or two might go east, another one might go west, another one to southern Manitoba. And yeah, and as we see this scene unfold of these guys accepting their final tracks, their final deliveries, really, um, over the course of the story, you realize that it's actually not about the ensemble cast of the group or of the story. It's about one trucker, one guy, and yeah, he gets the file that brings him back to his hometown, but an hour away, and yeah, so he knows he's probably gonna be like the first one to get there. He then basically just signs the rest of the paperwork saying, yeah, he'll keep the truck, all that, and yeah, all the other guys do it as well. Make sure that yeah, they keep the truck. They go off and do their own thing, whether they buy and sell. And finally, the boss is just like, I'm out of here. she'll get the last call, or whoever the receptionist is will get the last call from the last delivery, and they'll shut everything down. And yeah, it's basically these guys just saying goodbye to each other and their boss, and they get to keep essentially their truck, which is their momentum, or not momentum, their memento, their momentum, their memento of working with this company. Uh, yeah, like each person would have so much history within each truck, and the next scene would essentially, yeah, it would essentially be these guys with these trucks just hooking them up. They're they're all looking around and realizing this is going to be the last time they see each other. Is driving out of that lot. Like, it doesn't matter if they say goodbye to each other or how long it takes to say goodbye to each other. This is probably the last time they're going to see each other in the context of this company. This is the last time they'll say goodbye uh, before they are to meet again. But this time they know they're not going to meet again at the warehouse or at the home base. They're meeting each other somewhere else in the expanse of the wide world. And that's if they run into each other, if they happen to be living in the same areas or vacationing in the same spots. And yeah. And like that's how this story would begin and move on. And I don't know if where I would take the story, or if it would be a short story and I'd just kind of leave it there of this main guy finally just leaving. And then, so I don't know if like that would be the final scene of them all just driving away, or if I would connect that story to this guy finally figuring out, okay, I've been doing this trucking for like 20, 30 years, what now? Doesn't necessarily want to go back to trucking, doesn't necessarily want to do any sort of, I guess, local delivery or like box truck type stuff for like a hardware store. He's not entirely sure what he wants to do, and kind of, yeah, I definitely would want to leave the ending a bit ambiguous for sure. But it's just that idea of that final goodbye right at the beginning of the story. Like that's how it starts. Of how do you say farewell? Starting things off, how do you say farewell and goodbye to the people that you would have known for so long? And yeah, it's that kind of idea that I've had for a long time. Like, would it be set during some form of apocalypse where they know like the world itself is ending, and that's why this company is going down, and they have one final destination, one final delivery to make, and that's it. That's the final uh, end all be all delivery. Company's done. World is ending. Go and survive. Would that then cause these truckers or these people to then stick together to a certain degree, or would, I don't know what they would do, but like that's just an idea that I have of this story. Uh, yeah, and like I've been wrestling kind of with that idea. I haven't really written anything down, so this is my version of writing the story down. And oh man, like it gets me in those moments where I just kind of sit there and I stare off in the distance, kind of like what I've been doing, and just trying to figure it out. Okay, what is a tangible way to take the story? Because I have, now we're going on to the other areas of where could I take this? Where could it go? Because if I decide to do the context of like an apocalypse of some kind, world is ending for whatever reason, like massive EMP attack, trucks are still able to get going. Somehow the trucks are still able to get going, that kind of thing. Or if there's like if it's like I don't know, the Americans decide to attack, and yeah, they have to get these deliveries out, these final deliveries before this company shut down, or I don't know, companies just financially going under. Like, would these guys decide to go to another company? Would this main character then, depending on how old or young he is, could be like, yeah, it could be that he's in the business for 20, 30 years, or it could be that he's been in that with that particular company for 5 and that's it. And it's just him like, oh, I've got a lot still ahead of me. Like, what do I do? Do I keep on trucking with another company? What do I do? Kind of thing. And so, like, having that sense of anguish and unsurety for the future. Like, I don't know if I want to leave it at that part and have this just as a story and just go into detail of these guys uh, saying goodbye. And essentially, the whole thing just takes place in one location. Basically, a bottle episode of Farewells. And yeah, like, well, I've seen Reservoir Dogs be based off of just one location. Um, like it largely takes place in and around like all the shots of that one location. It's super cheap, for movies at least, or and even TV shows to do bottle episodes. Yeah, but from a writer's standpoint, to write this down, to describe every little detail, what's going on, what's happening, to get the facial expressions down, something that the like a camera could easily do, and that helps convey so much more than actually writing it down. But as to actually write the things down in the form of a short story, in the form of a novel, even possibly, or a novella, would be yeah, would be crazy actually to, or or it's hectic more or less to try and get that much detail down. But it's something I still love. But it's an idea that caused me to think of how I should write it down, how I should phrase it. Should there be a monologue speech or not? Uh, yeah, it's just these little final kind of details that I wanted to speak out as well too. And if I get comments back on where to take this, kind of the idea that I have for this, be amazing actually to hear back because like I don't know where to take this thing. I don't even know what to call it unless it's like the final farewell, but that can be cliche and cheesy. um, it might also work out to be a play on words for like instead of like the Irish goodbye, it could be the truckers goodbye, or um, it could be something more profound, like having the title be part of a quote that's from in the story itself. Um, yeah, I guess it. Part of it is just me, I guess, having to then write it and just get down and doing it and getting nitty and gritty and dirty in it, and having to figure that out. But it's something for sure, something for sure to think about. But no, that's that idea of like a small group of people saying goodbye for the last time, for the final time. It's fascinating actually to look at that concept and focus on that as a story. Like alluding to what happened before, maybe alluding to a little bit about what's going to happen, but beyond that, it might actually be a good idea just to have it where it's all the people specifically in just one place, one location. That's it. Just give the basics for the description of the background, of the context of the room, context of, and then as obviously the characters talk, we'll find out more about the actual emotional aspect and the more story-driven aspect of the place is shutting down, like what's going to happen next, kind of thing, and having to actually go through that process. So, yeah, I don't know where I'm going to take it, but it seems like a good story idea. So I'm just gonna leave it there because I don't know if I'll be going in circles now. So it seems like a good idea to let that idea off and see where it takes me.